Today we're working on a 2013 Ford Escape with a 1.6 liter engine, and it's got a trouble code in it regarding the engine coolant bypass control valve. And so you can see the trouble code displayed here. This is actually a common feature with these Ford engines, and quite often it gets shorted out the control solenoid here. So we're going to go through the replacement process. You can see I've got my new unit here. It's got an electrical connector on the top. It's got two bolts with 8mm heads, and then it's got a hose going to it. If I rotate it here, you can see where it goes into the cylinder head, and it's got a little O-ring already installed there. And so we're going to start out, as if I zoom in here a little bit, you can kind of see I've got the air box and stuff out. You don't necessarily need to do that. It just makes it a little easier to see for the camera here. So if I zoom in on this, looking at it, the engine, this is kind of towards the right hand side, down a little bit. You can see the blue there is kind of the giveaway. So we've got the electrical connector here. I'm going to just kind of reach in, release the tab, and get that up out of the way. Next thing I'm going to do is use my hose clamp removal tool. This has a spring style hose clamp on it. So I've got to move a little bit of stuff out of the way here and kind of get this down in place, get it kind of hooked on there. And then as I squeeze this, that will help me to remove the pressure on that clamp. And now I can kind of work it back here, and we'll get that hose off. But it's important to notice before we start this job, I want to make sure the engine is cooled off, and so I don't have any pressure. It's a good idea to go ahead and drain the cooling system. On this case, I've got a bucket below it. So I'm going to grab my little hose pick tool. In this case, I guess it's okay to use a pry bar, because worst you could do is break the old solenoid. So let's get the hose off. That's going to open up some more access to our bolts that are holding it in place. All right, well, now we've got the hose out of the way here, and so it's going to open things up a little bit. I'm going to take my 1/4-inch ratchet with an extension and a 8mm socket, and now I'm going to simply remove the two bolts that hold this control solenoid into place. Pretty straightforward there. I can get to this other one. Break it loose. And so now I'm just going to simply remove the two bolts, and at that point my unit will be loose and I can remove it from the engine. Okay, so I've got my bolts loose, removed, and now my unit is loose. Separate it from the cylinder head, and the unit comes out here. So I've got it off, got the old O-ring off. I'm going to set this to the side. Wait to make sure the coolant drains around there. We'll wipe it up, we'll dry it, and then I'm going to basically reverse the procedure. I'm going to install my new unit here. Simply put the two bolts in, and then I will put the hose on, tighten the hose clamp, make my electrical connection. I'm going to top off the coolant. Then I'm going to clear trouble codes, because remember we had a trouble code set by the previously faulty one. I'm going to start the vehicle. I'll let it run until the thermostat opens, the cooling fan comes on, double check my coolant level, and we're ready to go. Hopefully now you understand what it takes to replace the coolant bypass solenoid on a Ford Escape with a 1.6 liter engine.